course. That is dangerously cold, but out they go. It's not going to stop them here. Mike, desperately sad news about Sven Fischer.
It is so sad indeed, Patrick. I mean, Sven has put in the best season for many, many years that he has provided. And for him to stumble on the last race, what a pity. And yeah, just chilled after the race yesterday. And you cannot... I was thinking, well, if he just finished in the last 5, he could still win the overall World Cup standings.
Well, to guarantee to win it, he'd need to finish in 14th place and pick up 15 points. Easier said than done, but who knows, we may get a few people dropping out during the race, so that would be his solution. I guess the only hope that Fischer really has now is that the rest of his German teammates all finish ahead of Bjorndalen and push him outside the top 5. That's certainly a possibility if they're going well. And look, they've started very, very hard indeed. Germany in 1, 2, 3 and 4. Bjorndalen on the far side up in the top 5 positions, but we're just waiting for him to turn on the turbo booster and pull clear.
Well, that's what he's been doing so well all season. But yeah, back to Sven Fischer again. He must be lying in bed now, probably watching this on the television and feeling very sorry for himself after quite an amazing season. He's put his shooting together, it's improved. His ski speed from December all the way through till now has been fantastic. And he was a candidate to win overall, but maybe not to be. It's still alive though. Anything can happen.
Well, he was more than a candidate. He's been absolutely outstanding this year. He was 35 points clear. If he'd put in a good run today, he was going to lose. Just looking for his worst score, and he would have lost. So he really needed actually to finish in the top 5 or 6 anyway, just to be sure, because Bjorndalen will be going for a victory today. There's no doubt about that. He's had one after the other this year, and in the pursuit he looked outstanding. Big faller from the Norwegian team. Missed out on that early on. It looks as though he's brought down Bjorn Ferry as well. Number 21 going down. That's... on my list actually has Rishenkov, but it certainly wasn't Oleg Rishenkov.
And it was Hannevold who brought them down. He nearly brought down Ferry initially. But, well, that's a disaster. Hannevold will be safely in the back position now. And a tough fight to get through this stack of 29 people.
So 15 kilometres the distance, 4 shoots in all. Mike, what about Fischer's gloves? Do you think that's a factor? You know, you're exposing more of the skin. Do you think that's why he chilled down so much in the pursuit?
Well, as soon as we heard he was unwell, that did spring to my mind, the visual there on the television where his bare hands at -18. But no, it has been a warm season. We haven't had many days below -15, so your body gets a kind of a shock when you go into these hideously cold temperatures.
But if my memory serves me right, he didn't even have a complete hat on. He just had that headband on to protect the ears, and that for me is a little foolish. I know he's a tough man, and I know he's been brought up working in the woods without using gloves and so on.
Yeah.
But -17, -18, lunacy, surely.
It's a very good point. I think you're right. He was probably the only man not to wear a hat. And when you're racing around, you're picking up speeds of, what, 30? We've seen it before, 40 up to 50 kilometres per hour. And the wind chill factor is phenomenal. So without a doubt, you're losing so much heat from especially your hands and your head if you don't have them covered.
So the Norwegians move to the front. The Germans have made their stand, but fading away already. And I wonder if that's an indication that the Norwegian ski speed is very good today, Mike, because after that long downhill section, the 3 of them have moved to the front. No surprise with Ole Einar Bjorndalen. Egil Kielland is up there. I think, is it Eckhoff or is it Alexander Oss who's come up into the top position? Going through number 15. But it's so tight, it's pretty difficult to catch up on exactly who they are. But we do know that Hannevold is the only one of the Norwegians who's suffering.
I think it was Frode Andersen in 3rd place. There's Roger with his Siberian hat.
No, I like that.
That's beautiful. It's a status symbol up here. The quality of the fur in your hat. And that certainly looked the good one that Roger was wearing.
Well, a good turnout by the crowd here in Siberia. It's turning into one of the more popular venues on the tour. In the past, many of the teams decided not to make the journey, just too much hassle getting in and out of the country. They didn't like the food, they didn't like the accommodation, but my goodness, in Hanthy-Mans-East they've really turned it on, and not only that, they've also got one of the best crowds of the season.
And I think the track, the race profile, and coming into the range, you're in the amphitheatre there where all the spectators...
Oh, that's Sven Fischer had a 4th, 5th and a 2nd. Poiré has a 1st, a 2nd and a 3rd, which means if he wins today, he will take the mass start title. But if only Einar Bjorndalen wins, he'll take it because he's got 2 wins and a no entry. So the worst score is taken away. We've had this discussion over the last couple of weeks, but that's the way it is. The worst score taken away, so if Bjorndalen wins, he'll get a maximum 150 points. Poiré won't be able to touch him.
Unbelievable. And we can't write that off with the speed and the focus Bjorndalen carries every day into his sport. But Poiré noticing the 3 Norwegians leading, and Poiré, look at him. He's tucked right in there behind Frode Andersen. The pace is tough up there.
The pace is tough, and something else that's going to be tough is shooting in this wind. You can see from the flags in the background that it is quite a wild day, so often the case. And one of the features with this Hanthy-Mans-East range is it sets up these swirling winds, the vortex, and it is so difficult to read. It's just never consistent. And which end of the range would you choose? I mean, I know you don't get a choice in this event, but would you rather be in lane 1 or rather down in the middle?
Yeah, I studied this. As an athlete, you study the range so much. You look at every moment where the wind is moving the flags. And for me, lane 1 is better than, as we see Berger wearing bib 15. Lane 1 is slightly better than lane 15 all the way down to lane 30. So the right-hand side of the range is slightly better in the lying down position.
3 Norwegians leading. Andersen is in there. Bjorndalen is in there. I can tell you that Raphael Poiré in the red bib is just moving up because I think he senses he wants lane number 1. Mikey's thinking along the same lines as you, and he moves up in the 2nd place now. Bjorndalen gets the inside line. Now this is going to be interesting. Who is going to take it?
Well, in fact, yeah, for the first shoot, you have to slot into your bib number, and then after that, the range is open, or you file in as you come into the range.
Some very, very quick shooting from Lars Berger to get that first target down, but he's paid a price already. Alexander Wolf has thrown 1 wide. He's thrown a 2 wide out of the 4 shots he's taken, and the more experienced men taking their time. It is paying off for Bjorndalen. Just trying to watch Poiré's target because there's no sign of it on your caption at the moment. He's going okay, and out goes Poiré. Bjorndalen really just taking it steady. 5 out of 5. Excellent shooting. Bjorn Ferry is there with 5. So is Rojkov. Mike, it would be good to see Rojkov get another win today. He won, of course, the sprint event in San Sicario. Looked very, very good there, but then his form started to dive. But he's had an excellent start to this race. De Vraat is out. Bjorndalen is out. Robert is out. Poiré is on the penalty loop at the moment. Vilenenko and Ferry have both gone out in the top 5. Mickey Grice, who's proved he's had a really good season, Mickey Grice, in 7th place at the moment, just 10.7 down, and the field not spread out that much. Interesting to see the French shooting well, except for Poiré.
Well, there he goes, missing 1 target again, Poiré, and he was so good, especially in the lying down position all last season. So it's just that mind focus losing him a little, but fantastic performance from De Vraat.
Yeah, he's impressed me this year. 17th in the world last year, Vincent De Vraat. This year he lies in 7th position, 20th, 4th and 16th, his results in the mass start event so far, so one of his worst formats, but he's got a chance today to improve on that. Number 19 going through is Bjorn Ferry. At the back of that group looked like Mickey Grice just hanging on in there, and here comes Raphael Poiré, the penalty paid. He looks much fitter at the moment. He started to up his skiing, which is interesting.
There's an anger there, isn't there? There's a sharpness of focus. He does have that spark. And when this snow, it's so cold, -18, you really don't get the glide factor that we've been seeing in most of the other races, certainly in Austria. And he does look as if he's still got that powerful, dynamics, explosive kick as he powers off his skis.
I think it's fair to say that Poiré has to beat Bjorndalen today to win the mass start trophy. If they both finish down in the 20s, then it won't make any difference. Poiré will take it because he's got a 1st, a 2nd and a 3rd. But the likelihood is that Bjorndalen is going to be in the top 5, and Poiré must match him. De Vrij, Bjorn Dahlen, Robert coming out, the top 8 positions all clear. Mistakes being made by some of the leading athletes, Poiré most noticeably. And who else has missed targets? Rottman of Austria, Chepikov has missed targets, Karl-Johan Bergman, Mike, the Swede, one missed target, 30 seconds or so behind the leaders. And there you can see a few of those trailers with 2 and 3 misses apiece. So the eagle-eye Bjorn Dahlen hits all 5 again, but wow, his tactics, you have to admire. And he does change them for the conditions. I think he's turned into last year, Poiré was the man who was thinking best on his feet. This year, Bjorn Dahlen quite happy to change his tactics, even though he's won 3 races in a row. He sort of senses that he needs to do something better.
Isn't that a sign of absolute and total confidence, where you can change your day plan just a little bit to get in there fast, to shoot fast? And it's working for Bjorn Dahlen, the perfect score. Surprisingly, Patrick, only 10 out of the world's best 30 athletes have hit all 5 targets in the first lying down position. Then we go all the way down to position, so further 10 miss 1, and the final 10 miss 2 or less. And there is Emlia, who did so well the other day, has missed all 5 or out of 5 targets.
So that's a shame for Darius Emlia. He's been skiing brilliantly this week, but he's left himself with too much to do. Already 2 minutes behind the leaders. Another interesting score coming in from Rico Gross. Gross, who for the last 4 years, Mike, has been the best shot on the tour. He's thrown too wide. I wonder whether his barrel got bent in the travel up to Siberia. He's had a disaster. He's dropped below 90% in both the prone and the standing. He is no longer the hot shot on the tour.
It's a strange thing, that, because he came in here as the best. That's Rico Gross, the best shot in the world, and his last 3 races, 2 races up here, in shooting terms, have been a disaster for him. Very unusual.
Bjorn Dahlen and De Vrij going through side by side. They've opened up a little gap, but it's not 150 meters, so they haven't earned themselves a shot effectively over the chasing group. Brissis, Ferry, Robert, Zhang, Messertich, Grice, Filanenko, and then down in 11th place at the moment, well positioned in 15 seconds behind, is Raphael Poiré. We need to track his movement. Now remember, this man has to finish in the top 5 today to take the overall title.
If we look at his left eye, we just saw it there. He's one of the few athletes who doesn't have a blind, a cover, closing the light off on his left eye, and he keeps his left eye slightly open. That's quite hard. Chepikov does it as well. There's very few actually in the best 100 athletes that shoot without a blind.
Simon of Switzerland just scraping into the top 30 of the rankings, and he got a start today. He's in 20th position. A top 20 result would be excellent for him. Fred Anderson, Mike, 22nd at the moment.
Making a couple of errors in her route.
2 targets has put Frode back there, and Berger, but Berger is making his charge forward. Quite interestingly, 7 Norwegians racing today, so 7 of the best 30 in the world are Norwegians. Only 3 Germans and 3 Russians. Thought there might be more.
I think the Russians will be delighted with the way that Nikolai Krugloff has come on this year, Mike, and Sherazov has shown that he's capable of winning events, just running out of steam in the individuals, but his shooting is excellent, and they've still got Chepikov to lead them on, so they've got the perfect combination. Some very talented youngsters, but with huge experience with Rojkov and Chepikov, and just to help on the newcomers in the team.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering, last year, like Philip Schulman, Kudov as well, I'm just wondering, maybe they're pushing them a little bit hard in the summer. We've seen them fade off this year, especially Schulman. He was stronger last year, and that can be an indication of pushing just that little bit too hard, possibly overtraining in the summer months.
So Bjorn Dahlen leads the way into the range, a situation that he has been in so many times this year. He won't be fazed by this. He'll be confident because the last 5 prone targets went down, but it is his first prone shot of each shoot where you sometimes don't feel that he's got it quite right. That's the one that he misses more often than any other target. Vincent de Vrij, on the other hand, on his shoulder at the moment, very, very strong. And look at Rafael Paret. He's blasted past this group of 8 chasers to put himself into 3rd position. He's not going to give up on this one. He wants something from the end of this season. He didn't get any, well, he got 1 medal at the World Championships, a bronze, which compared to last year is a disaster. And he hasn't taken any of the Crystal Globes this year so far. And remember, last year it was a clean sweep.
Absolutely incredible. But look at the focus today. He started 21 seconds in 11th place into this lap, and he's back up into 3rd. So Paret is showing that he really does still have the fight. We all knew that, but it just hasn't been able to put it together as he normally does.
So, crucial moment. Bjorndal's standing shooting has been good this year. His prone still, I think, where he can make mistakes. Vincent Defrain settles in position first. Bjorndalen, we suspect, will take his time again. A very good long look down the range. Here we go, shoot number 2. Poiré already ready.
Well, the tough pace into the range maybe has put Defrain back just a little bit. That's 2 targets missed already.
Once again, no rush from Ole Einar Bjorndalen, and he has got all 5 down. Vincent Defrain has been skiing too hard, I suspect, trying to stay with Bjorndalen, and he's paid the price. Rafael Paret, 5 out of 5 on this occasion, and the 2 top members of this mass start are going to go out 1 and 2. Julien Robert has gone clear for France. Zhang of China, Mike, having a great run. He's gone clear, and we know that he can ski like the wind, so we could see China on the podium in the last race of the season. Now, the remainder must clear up to stand any chance of getting themselves up into the top 5. Bjorndalen out in 16:22, and there's going to be a bit of a gap between 4th and 5th. Good to see Alexander Oss shooting clear for Norway. Bergman starting to put his race together. He goes clear on the 2nd shoot. Wolfgang Rottmann, usually so good in the pro. He's missed one again, Mike. That's unusual.
That is very unusual. Rottmann's percentages are 92 leading into this race for the pro, and that puts him as best in the world. But a bad day. Good news for Anderson. He's hit all 5. So he's going to move a long way up the ranking right now.
A little bit of a battle between Anderson and Berger. They both ski, they both have the same sort of style, ski fast and take risks on the range. At the moment, it's advantage Anderson as they head out on their 3rd loop. 2 shoots to go, both in the standing position. And at the moment, Ole Einar Bjorndalen is heading for World Cup glory.
He certainly is, but he still has the 2 slightly more difficult positions, the 2 stand positions. So 3 kilometers of distance skiing over undulating terrain. Not the steep climbs that we saw in Hochfilzen, but it's still a lot of climbing out there. Look at Poiré today. He really is on a mission. He wants to end this season in 1st place. He's skiing faster than Bjorndalen today.
Yeah, but I'm not... is that a good thing? Can his form have changed that quickly? He'd certainly look better in the pursuit.
He's just so angry. He's so focused. He wants to put himself back at the top, and I think that's the way he wants to end this season. And that's where it's coming from. The messages from the mind saying, look, I want to get back on top today.
Good to see the Austrians featuring in the chasing groups. Mickey Grice still come back into the fold. Very good skiing from Alexander Oss, the youngster, Mike. He's in 11th position, comes up the northwest of Norway, and really has just been given experience this year. I don't think they were expecting too much, just wanted to give him a taste of World Cup competition, but he's more than excelled himself.
He has, and in some ways a little fortunate today. He was 2nd reserve to start, and with Krudlov and Fischer out, he got a chance to start.
Well, there are the top 8 after the 2nd shoot, and as you saw, a bit of a gap between 4th and 5th. But Poiré and Bjorndalen both up there in the leading group. Great to see the Chinese Zhang. We know the Chinese women have been going well, Mike, and we need to talk about the Chinese and their success in just a moment. So 2 shoots still to go, and only the top 30 in the world entitled to race here in the mass start. The British don't qualify for that, Mike, and in fact it's not been a good season for the Brits.
Very sad indeed. They were ranked in the nation's top 20. And now at the end of this season, not racing today as you said, sadly they have dropped down below 20, and that really is significant. Now when you're nation 20 or below, you can only start 1 athlete at the Olympics and only 2 athletes at World Cups from now on. And for Britain that is a sad day.
Do you think they can get back?
It's tough. It's like the Chinese now. They're only racing 2 athletes in most World Cup races to challenge top 20 teams who can race 3, so you're trying to pick up points to beat the 20th team, only starting 2 athletes. It's almost impossible, as we see with the Chinese. They I'll just check actually, but I don't think they've made top 20 either, so they can only start 1 at the Olympics.
Well, this may be a crucial race for the Chinese. If Zhang can pick up points here, they'll certainly floor up a few places.
Well, but it doesn't go towards the actual nation standing
because it's
points.
a mass start.
Because exactly,
not everyone's here. Okay,
absolutely. But it's quite sad, so I really feel for the British team that it will shape the future of British biathlon. We're only starting 2 from this season onwards.
So we need to start a recovery plan now and think long-term rather than short-term.
Indeed, yeah, the development in all these nations, development is everything, and there are moves to develop, certainly in Britain, and possibly in a number of years we will get some British biathletes back up there, and hopefully the team in the top 20.
53 seconds separating the teams as they go through 7.8, just over the halfway marker. 15 kilometres the total distance for today's mass start. Egil Kjelland going through 1:16 behind. He's put gloves on for the first time this year, Mike. That's a mark of how cold it is. Maybe he's learned from Sven Fischer's mistakes. And if you have just joined us, the big news from Hänty-Mансийsk today is that Sven Fischer, who was the World Cup leader, 35 points clear going into this very final race. All he had to do was finish in the top 10 to take the title, but he has had to withdraw. He hasn't recovered from the pursuit event 2 days ago. Sven Fischer got really cold, super chilled, I guess we could call it. It's not really a flu, but he just hasn't warmed up since that race. Minus 17 for the pursuit, and he's done the wise thing and sat out of today's competition. Bjørndalen and Poiré now.
Well, did you see that? By accident, Ole Einar Bjørndalen skied over the basket of Poiré's poles, and Poiré was quite relaxed there, but you can sense there was disappointment.
Yeah. Now, Bjørndalen didn't hesitate. It wasn't an intentional move, but he was very quick to go past the Frenchman. It was he sort of feinted one way and went the other, just so Poiré didn't see what was going on. And Bjørndalen obviously wants lane 1, and the advantage of that is that he won't see so much action going on behind him, and he just has that one end target to focus on.
Well, as you say, that one little slip or that one misplay, there we go. Now,
it's going to happen on this one, I think. No.
Bjørndalen is skiing very, very tightly in behind him, and there we are. Poiré is not impressed. He does not like being interfered with when he's racing.
Well, he's got to learn to cope with it, because it's going to happen in a mass start or a pursuit format. He may even try to go back past Bjørndalen before the shoot. The tactics have started already. We're at the halfway stage. These 2 men are the only 2 men who can take the crystal globe for the mass start. Whichever one wins will take it, if one of these 2 wins, and it certainly looks that way at the moment. 2 shoots still to go. This 3rd shoot could be the crucial one. First in the standing position, Bjørndalen has looked very controlled in the prone. Poiré certainly skiing better than he has done at any stage this season. And they're side by side on their own. Key moment in the biathlon season.
Look at the rifle drills, putting the mags in together, into the position together.
Oh, one miss for Bjørndalen, one miss for Poiré. Maybe a chance for Defran Zhang to move up the order, but those 2, you cannot separate them at the moment. Bjørndalen, he tried to change the format. He didn't shoot the end one last, but it didn't pay off on this occasion. Now, can Zhang hit the standing targets? He's been his weak point this year. 4 hits will be good. Great shooting from Zhang. He goes out with just 1 penalty to pay. Brissis, Anderson, Rojkov and Mesetic now have a chance to move into the top 3, but Bjorndalen and Poiré just about to come off the penalty loop. 24:59 the time. Zhang and Defrant both have a penalty to pay. No one clear so far on this first standing shoot.
Just get a feeling Rojkov may well be the first to clear the standing.
Oss is going well as well for Norway. He throws the last one wide. Rojkov gets it down. Neil, 6 senses spot on today. Grice and Oss. Grice misses, so does Anderson. Ilmar Brissis is going to be up there, Mike. He's had a few good races this season, kept us on our toes. Tomasz Sikora of Poland. What a brilliant finish to the season he's had. He was flying at the World Championships, and he's got himself into the top 10 here in the last mass start of the season.
Vilanenko, the best stand shooter of the whole season, he's just missed 3 targets. And it was going so well for him prior to that disaster.
Now, Mike, looking ahead to the last shoot, if Bjorndalen and Poiré come out together, do you think Poiré's form has improved sufficiently for him to be able to take out the Norwegian on the last loop?
Now that's a good point. I'm wondering if Poiré might even... Remember last time round he pulled back 9.5 seconds. I'm just wondering if he's going to attack this 4th loop. No, he isn't. He's going to stay behind Poiré. Now might be a chance to try and psychologically break Bjorndalen, because clearly Bjorndalen is suffering. As most of these athletes out here, normally we would see him take 10, 15 seconds off anybody when he really, really wants to. So he can't do that today.
But I'm thinking slightly differently in that, like the rest of this world, you don't get anything for 3. And you don't claw back 9 seconds on Bjorndalen and not pay a price for it at a later stage in the race. So I would suspect that Poiré needs to recover on this loop to save something for the last loop.
For the final attack, well, that may well be what's going through Poiré's mind. And Poiré did want to go into the range first, but that slight trip up, or the Bjorndalen ski going over his basket, pulled him back a little bit.
But it's quite windy out here in Siberia. The advantage that Bjorndalen has leading is that the wind doesn't really affect the majority of the course because it's so heavily forested. But if it were an open course, then Bjorndalen would be better just to be in the slipstream of Poiré. But under these conditions, with huge great firs on both sides of the track, I think he'll be quite comfortable leading the way around the penultimate loop.
Alexander Oss skiing smooth like all the Norwegians do, very efficient.
Oss is coming into race instead of Nikolai Krugloff, who's also ill. Shame that he's faded away at the end of the season, but I think Krugloff will be happy enough with the way things have gone. He's going to finish the season in 8th or 9th in the World Cup standings. That depends on how well Mickey Grice goes today, who's 21 points down on Krugloff's score at the moment. But Krugloff has won his first World Cup this year, and I think we'll see him notch up a few wins in the future. There are the top 8 positions, 3 shoots completed, 1 to go here in Hyanty-Mansiysk. Bjorndalen, Poiré and Zhang, the leading 3. Rojkov in 4th place. Further down, Mickey Grice in the top 10 at the moment. He needs to move up a couple of places if he wants to finish 8th in the world for this year. Vincent Defrant has faded, Mike. He must have had a disastrous shoot on the first of the standings. Tactics from start to finish in this mass start. And these two, they've never been more than 30 metres apart. Poiré is the man who's had to play catch-up in the early stages, having missed on the first prone shoot. Bjorndalen, 14 hits out of 15 so far. Poiré, 13 out of 15.
Well, this is interesting now, the tactics. Poiré is feeling good, and he's thought, right, I have to now try and hurt Bjorndalen more than I'm hurting myself in the physical terms. And he really has picked the pace up. So Bjorndalen, we would think, is, well, just above his, what would have been his comfortable limit.
4,200 metres to go, but there's rather a big hurdle to overcome before they cross the line, and it is that final standing shoot. Bjorndalen's form, it was the same sort of tactics, nice and steady. I wonder whether he'll be able to hold it, or whether he'll have the confidence to hold to that slow shooting routine for the final shoot.
I think he will, because of the work that he's had with the shooting coach. They've talked tactics, they've talked mind, you know, the focus when you come in. And I think Bjorndalen will just remain the normal, steady, safe routine, not rushing it too much. Robert putting it together very well today. Hannavold isn't. He's just come out of the range now in 27th place, but only missed 3 targets. And Matti Simon from Switzerland, the only Swiss athlete, he's just gone and missed 4 targets out of 5 in the standing.
Now, Hannavold of Norway has blown a little hot and cold this year. I think maybe he's not putting too much pressure on himself this season, and he'll want to tighten things up for next year and focus on trying to take another Olympic gold medal, which is still a distinct possibility. 1 or 2 messages saying is Hannavold still capable of winning? And I think he is when he gets his shooting in order and he's at peak form. He has to be on his peak ski form to be able to do it, and his best chance still comes in the individual race.
I agree with you, but we haven't seen the greatness of Hannavold at all this season. The day that he skis fast, he shoots by his standards a little bit down, and he's only put it together. But when it mattered most at the World Championships to take his bronze medal and of course the gold in the relay, I think he'll be back.
I like the design of this course here in Hänty-Mансийsk, Mike. I know they're out in the woods for the majority, but they do bring them into the stadium and they snake them around a couple of times just so the crowd get to see what's going on. Maybe they could build even a few more of these sort of artificial bridges just to sort of make the course a little more exciting, but it is good that they display them in front of this crowd that have turned up.
Absolutely.
And in -17, how many spectators would you get in Britain?
You'd get television spectators. Well, we don't often, sadly, get temperatures down to -17, 18. I'm just thinking again, you know, this is a great chance for us, for the spectators out there, to appreciate these 2 biathletes we're watching now. In my opinion, are the best biathletes ever, and they've come around at the same time. And they've just, for the last 10 years, they've dominated the sport.
Yeah, I think if they'd come separately, then we wouldn't have appreciated quite how good they are. You look at Schumacher in Formula 1, and yes, he's great, but all the talk is it's boring because he's winning everything. These 2 have shared the victories, and so you never get tired of watching them duel out on the course, and that's exactly what we've got in the final race of the season. It's just a shame that Sven Fischer, who was leading the World Cup up until today, isn't here to contend, because you feel that even with him off form, he could finish in the top 10 and claim the title. But you cannot take it away from Ole-Einar Bjorndalen. 12 wins already this season, and he's going for win number 13 today. He only needs to finish in the top 5 to take the overall title, but he needs to beat Poiré if he's going to claim the mass start title as well. And Poiré doesn't want to let it go. He's the reigning champion in the mass start. He's the master of the mass start. He's won so many world titles, but he lost that to Bjorndalen this year, and he doesn't want to lose the Crystal Globe as well. This next 30 seconds is then going to decide which way it goes. They matched each other on the first standing shoot, and the wind has picked up for the second. Here we go. This has to go down. It's gone wide. It has gone wide, and Ole-Einar Bjorndalen, in the tightest of situations, has thrown one away. Poiré's tactics were get the first target down, try and affect the psyche of Bjorndalen, and it has paid off. And we have seen the sort of form we had from Poiré in the World Championships in Oberhof last year. That was the most sensational shoot of the season. Poiré is clear, Bjorndalen is on the loop, and I can't see him catching the 150 metres in the last 2.5 kilometres. Well, 3 kilometres actually, to be exact. Rojkov has gone clear. He'll put up a chase for second place, but I can't see him out skiing Bjorndalen from here. A mistake from Brissis and Sikora and Eckhoff and Robert. It's going to be a mighty close ski for the minor places, but Poiré is out. He's 23 seconds clear. Rojkov 37 seconds down. Likelihood is that they're going to take 1, 2 and 3. The order won't change, and if that's the way it is, Ole-Einar Bjorndalen will take the overall globe for this year. I think that's pretty much in the bag, and Poiré, Mike, is going to claim the mass start trophy.
Well, you've got to take your hat off to Poiré. He was focused, he was angry. We saw the old Poiré. He hasn't had a lot of good press over in France, especially at the World Champs, and he's proved to everybody today that he is the best.
Well, the crowd have really got into this race, and you can't blame them. Such a tense situation for that final shoot. All these men looking to improve their World Cup places. Points do matter, and it will certainly help their cause when it comes to picking up sponsors over the summer months. There's the race leader, 23 seconds clear of Oleana Bjorndalen, and Poiré has looked in control today. Remember, a mistake on the very first shoot, saw him 40 metres or so down off the leaders. But he worked it back slowly, didn't panic, and he has outshot Oleana Bjorndalen perhaps the first time this year.
Well, in fourth place, so it's Poiré, Bjorndalen, Roshkov. Riches once again is putting it together so well. He's only missed 2 targets, 1 minute 2 behind, but he's got 2 athletes within 3 seconds behind him. Shikora is right behind him, and Ekov went out of the range just 2 seconds behind, so there's going to be a major battle there for positions 4, 5 and 6. Roshkov looks comfortable and safe in third. Good day for Russia.
5 misses for Freda Anderson today, 2-0-3-0 his score. He's 151 down, but still in the top 10 and ahead of Lars Berger. Haven't seen too much of Lars Berger today. He made mistakes earlier on. Then we flick down, see the top 16 after the first shoot. Lars Berger down in 19th, 5 misses in all, so he's never really recovered from his visit to Oberstdorf in the Nordic World Championships, where he was on very good form and certainly deserved the gold in the relay event there, but it took it out of him while the rest of them were tuning up for the biathlon World Championships, Mike. Lars Berger was focusing on being on his best form, putting in hard sessions and hard races, and it has proved too much. I wonder whether that will affect his decisions next year.
I think it probably will, because when your focus is taken away, the distractions, it's like in Olympic Games, the World Championships in cross-country skiing, and then as a young athlete being included in their relay team, the great nation of Norway, he was there for the cross-country, and that seems to have absorbed a lot of his focus. He's come back here having reached his pinnacle, but he's certainly by no means finished, and he does love the biathlon more than cross-country skiing. Bjorndalen, well, there's a rare sight, him looking back, worrying about who's chasing him.
I don't think he's putting up the chase on Raphael Poiré. 23 seconds, he's too far down, and Raphael Poiré has finished the season in some style. You have to give him credit for that. It's been a pretty lean season by his standards. I know he's third in the World Cup standings, but we haven't seen the spark as of yet from the Frenchman, who was just so dominant last year. He won in Ostersund, the mass start there. He won again in Oberhof, the pursuit, and he's going to make it his 3rd win of the season. Bjorndalen, on the other hand, when he races, he is good. Only twice has he finished outside the top 4 in races he's entered. He was 6th on both of those occasions, but he's put in 12 victories. That's a new record for the biathlon tour, and I can't see that being beaten for some time.
Indeed, and plus the fact that he didn't go to Ostersund, the 3 races up there, the whole World Cup there, nor did he go to San Sicario, so he missed the 3 races there. One of them was a relay, so he has actually missed 5 individual races where he could have scored points. Quite amazing that he's now, well, going to win the overall. But good to see Poiré back at the top of the pile, top of the world in biathlon, and he just has had a great focus this morning. Determined to win, and determination can take you a long, long, long way. Good to see the track. This is the long glide now back towards the stadium. The only chance for a quick recovery. Well, Bjorndalen doesn't even use that as recovery. Most people glide down this bit, but he's skating. He's desperate to pull back sometime.
So into the stadium comes Raphael Poiré, and he will be absolutely delighted. I think Liv Greta Poiré will also be shedding a tear on this occasion, because it's been a very tough season for that pair, and they've taken a lot of criticism from their own press, but they've come through it in the end. Ligreta, no doubt, will be back on better form next year. If Rafael Poré can produce this sort of form next season, then maybe the 4 golds will go to him at the Olympic Games. It hasn't been his season, but they do seem to alternate a little, Mike, so if that continues, then it's going to be Poiret's year next year, and Ole-Einar Bjorndalen may find himself without winning medals at the Olympics, but that's hard to believe. Here he comes, the greatest biathlete for 2005. He's done enough to secure the overall. He's lost the mass start trophy today, but I don't think he'll be too fussed by that. How much of a hollow victory is it with Sven Fischer not racing?
It takes something, it detracts a little from this from the victory, but that's the way it goes. It is so sad that Sven couldn't take part today, having had a great season. I think with Bjorndalen's, the amount of wins he's had, we all know that he's the best. And it was largely because he didn't do Östersund and San Sicario.
You're saying he doesn't need a bit of silverware to tell him that. He knows, we know,
yeah.
And he is the talk of the town. He's the #1 athlete in Norway. Everyone adores what he does. He's such a humble man. He's very modest, and he's the ideal role model. And my goodness, has he produced the results this year. Great race from Rafael Poré. Not sure I'd go for this sort of celebration. We know he's put in a good performance, and 18 out of 20, but it was really that last standing shoot that won him the day, and he keeps the red bib as the winner of the mass start. That's the one that he's been good at for the last 5 years. Ole-Einar Bjorndalen, all credit to him. Sympathies to Sven Fischer. If you're watching, I know it's tough to sit out a race, and give him credit, it's so much harder not to race than it is to race, but he figured he was just too ill to get out on the tracks. Poré wins today, but Bjorndalen takes the season. 12 wins in all. Not only that, he's taken his total number of wins up to 56 World Cups. He'll be on after Ingmar Stenmark's 85 before long. It is in this sort of sport, Mike, where you're right at your limit in every single race. It is a phenomenal record. Credit to Roshkov. He sprinted brilliantly in San Sicario to win the sprint there, and he's got 3rd today. The Norwegians out in numbers. Stian Eckhoff comes in 4th. Thomas Sikora, another top 5 result for the Poles. He's been outstanding this year. And Ilmar Brissis, who took a bronze at the World Championships, gets 6th today, 54.7 behind. Roshkov, hugely popular in these parts, and I think the Russians have been a great team this year, and I certainly think they could do well in the Olympic relay next season.
Absolutely, and Zhang, he held it together for most of the race, missed 2 out of 5 in his last standing, so he was standing there in 3rd place, but now down to 7th.
He could have made the top 3 had he hit all 5, but it's an if, and it hasn't happened today. Carl-Johan Bergman, great recovery from the Swede to get himself up into 8th position, ahead of Frode Andersen, who's once again not shot clear, but he's skied like the wind, so it's nice to see Andersen coming into form. But Frode, you've left it a little bit late. The season is over.
Interestingly, Frode is being invited to train in the cycle camp down in Crete with the Swedish team, and I believe that the great trainer the Swedes have, Pickler, I believe he wants to kind of coach him or give some assistance to his season. Doesn't think he trains correctly.
Chepikov, Robert and Gross. Rico Gross down in 12th. It's been a mediocre season by his standards, and he has lost the title as the best marksman on the tour. He won't enjoy that. Wolf in 13th. Sherazov, who we need to watch out for in the future. He's a very, very exciting athlete indeed in 14th. And Halvard Hannevold, another mediocre run from him. Larchberger 16. Canard and Defrin down in 17 and 18. Defrin, who started so well today, but missed in the standing shoot to push himself out of the top 15, and he's finished only just a few seconds ahead of Mesetic of Austria. 6 misses in all for Defrin. Mike, before the race started, I was saying how impressed I was by his shooting.
Well, he wanted to win today, and I think he just tried that a little bit. He changed his plan too much. He pushed that early pace so hard.
Yeah, he got sucked in with Bjorndalen's talent and tried to stay with the Norwegian, and then missed 3 on the second prone. And that lesson that you have to learn.
Absolutely, and that put him over his normal routine, and there you do suffer. But yes, Sven Fischer, if he's watching, it is such a pity he's not racing today. You would expect him to be top 10, and he's been so brilliant, he could well have been today.
Well, so that wraps up the men's season. There is a mixed relay coming up on Sunday, but obviously a number of these men won't be taking part, and all we can do is thank them for all the effort they've put in this year. We've had one or two messages saying, thank goodness the Lycra season is over, but we've had many more saying they can't believe that the season's at an end already, and what are they going to do for the next 8 months? But I'm sure you'll find something to entertain yourselves, and but we will be back in at the beginning of December next year. The Summer Biathlon Championships not scheduled to be shown on Eurosport, but who knows, things may change. It's the viewing figures growing and growing every season, and thanks to you all for watching and making it that way. Let's hope that we just go from strength to strength as the seasons go on. The race today, Mike, any apart from Poiré, who was outstanding, anything else that we ought to take note of?
Yeah, Eckhoff's once again showing his strength and his consistency this season.
Well, the first of the 2 races completed for today, the women's final mass start of the year coming up later on. We're going to be showing that this evening on Eurosport, so do tune in for that event. And the women's World Cup just as tight, Mike. Sandrine Bay, Olga Pilieva, Kati Wilhelm, all with a chance of taking the title. No news about the health and their well-being. I can't see that we're going to have one of those 3 withdrawing, because they all look very, very healthy on the pursuit event two days ago.
Indeed, but I mean, fatigue, as we did mention earlier, it is a major issue, and then you can pick up ailments, even injuries at this time of the season.
Well, it may be sunny, but it is still bitterly cold here in Siberia. Warmed up to -16 and down below -20 last night. And so the snow is very, very sharp crystals. It's not been easy to ski on, but the Norwegians did seem to have good skis at the beginning of the race. A little difficult to tell later on as they start to tire, but certainly on the start and the downhill sections, the Norwegians were going well. Early-on at Bjorndal, and there he is starting his race on the far side of the course. Raphael Perret blown away with that early pace, Mike, and then the fall from Alfred Hannibal just...
Yeah, Rashenko was pulled down, I think it was.
Well, I'm not sure that was right. Looked like one of the Swedish suits to me, but it doesn't matter. They both got back into the race. Hannibal recovered from that little incident, but he'll be buying beers for the Norwegian team tonight as a result of that. Not so often we see a faller. Bjorndalen tripped himself up the other day. Poiré tripped himself up at the World Championships at the end of the mass start in a similar situation. And then this little incident. What was interesting there, Mike, Perret was furious. Bjorndalen not fazed at all, didn't even turn his head to say, look, I'm sorry, mate. That's one of those things that happened. Bjorndalen was still totally focused on the job ahead.
When you're racing a head-to-head like that, you've got to be aggressive. You've got to be totally focused on yourself. If outside situations go on, you just deal with it. You don't make a big deal. You just let it happen and deal with it in whatever relaxed way you can. No point in getting angry. But these ski poles are so fragile that there is always a serious risk when you ski over the end of a ski pole that it can snap. It's carbon fibre.
Yeah, but the other thing that can happen is that the basket can come off. And in that situation, it was a little fortunate that it didn't. Obviously well glued on, but the baskets do come off. And once you've lost the basket, even in these hard conditions, you're still not going to get the power out of the stick that you need. So that may well have upset Poiré. As it is, he won the day with an excellent final shoot. Early on at Bjorndalen, though, wearing number 1, he is number 1 in the world. 56 World Cup wins. He's got 4 gold medals from the last Olympics, 4 gold medals from this World Championships that were just held in Hochfilzen in Austria, and he's gone and won 12 races this season, the best anyone has ever done. Raphael Perret, well, what's he saying? I'm back, or I am the master of the mass start?
Well, he certainly is the master, isn't he, of the mass start? And I think he is saying, look, don't forget about me. I am back, I am here, and I am a threat to all the medals next year at the Olympics.
So 2 misses for Poiré, but it was good enough in the end. 40.31 the time. He skied exceptionally hard on the second loop to make up time that he lost with a miss, and he came through in the end, having pulled himself level with Bjorndalen. further down, Julien Robert, I think, will be happy with 11th. Rico Gross won't be happy with 12th. His season not as good. He's only got 8 wins in his 15 seasons, Mike, and he's such a talented biathlete. That figure slightly surprised me.
That is quite surprising, but he does always come good to his best at the major competitions. We saw that. His big increase this season was the World Championships, and he will be back at the Olympics.
So there are the mass start scores at the end of the season. 4 races in all, 1 taken off, so a maximum of 150 points. Poiré has 146, Bjorn Dahlen has 146, but Poiré will take it, because when you take his 4th score, that is better than Bjorn Dahlen's. Poiré has a 3rd to add to his 1-1-2. Bjorn Dahlen didn't race in the 4th one, so the title will go to Poiré, despite the fact that they finished level on points.
Well done, Jay Hakkinen, for finishing, having missed 10 loops. A lot of athletes would just pack up and pull out of the race, but well done, Jay Hakkinen.
And incidentally, on the points, Norway have taken the relay scores. As we have a look at the total score, we'll go through that just now. Bjorn Dahlen 9-2-3, Sven Fischer 9-1-2. He must be absolutely sick as a parrot after having to withdraw from today's race because of the chill he picked up 2 days ago. He has lost the title on the last race of the season, but credit to Sven, he raced in every other race this year, and he was so consistent. But in the end, it was the best biathlete in the world who took the Crystal Globe, to add to the many hundreds that he's already got at home. Luckily, he's got 4 houses, so he's got plenty of space.
Well, he needs that space. Medals keep piling in. Lars Berger, 17th overall in the world, and remember, he didn't do all the races either.
Zhang, 20 up in the 20s, Mike, for China. And Zhang's success has been Great Britain's misfortune, as they now have their allotted numbers in races very much reduced. So that concludes our coverage from Hyanty-Mансийsk. Once again, thanks for your company. Remember, we've got the women's race coming up later today. Hope you can join us for that. The final individual run of the season. Pilieva and Sandrine Bailly going for the overall title. That's later on. Thanks for now. We'll see you later.